You're listening to Civic Media. You can tune into any of our live shows on any radio station across the state with the Civic Media app. Find us in your phone's app store and listen anytime, anywhere.
And welcome to another edition of the Big High School Sports Show presented by K5 Construction on 98.9 WXCO, online at bullfallsradio.com, mobile devices and Alexa by searching WXCO and on the Civic Media app. I'm Chad Holmes, joined by former Wausau West head football coach Jason Foster. Coming up, we'll recap the Week 8 action in high school football. Later on in the show, we'll look ahead to week number 9, the final week of the regular season, as conference championships and playoff berths are on the line. Plus, we have a couple of special guests. Coming up at 6:25, we'll be talking to DC Everest head football coach Braden Mitchell. Of course, the Evergreens had themselves a thriller last week, have put themselves on the cusp of a solo Wisconsin Valley Conference championship. So we'll talk to Braden Mitchell coming up at 6:25 about the Evergreens and their season. And then at 7:06, we'll have our student-athlete guest from Wausau East High School, Elmer Heard. So that's all coming up tonight here on the Big High School Sports Show presented by K5 Construction. It's getting dark early, isn't it?
Yeah, a couple of days this last week. It actually felt like fall a little bit. Finally got a little rain. It's kind of tis finally the season. I feel.
Know it's week
Scraped
number 9.
The windshield a couple of times.
No, I avoid that because I go in the garage. Because I don't like scraping. Even though I finally bought a scraper. For so long I didn't have a scraper and I'd be using my glove to scrape it up. But that's a whole different story.
Yes.
But it is an exciting time. I tell you. I mean, there's a lot of games that have big implications one way or the other.
Yeah, and it's also this is a fun time of the year because unlike other sports where sectionals and regional, all those things are set ahead of time, in football, you don't know. Yeah. You don't know who's going to be in your 8-team section. So winning these Week 9 games matters, and then sitting around and waiting to see who's in your group, and then sitting around again and waiting to see how the computer ranks them. So
let me ask you
it's
this.
It's a process.
Are you somebody that would be a little bit annoyed knowing that you're going to the playoffs, but you have to wait until Saturday morning to see who your opponent is because you lose all that time getting prepared on Friday night when probably once those brackets came out, you'd be starting to work right away, and you have to spend another 8, 9, 10 hours waiting.
I actually enjoyed the process. Because there is that brief time when your regular season is done, and you don't know, and it's a time when you actually sit around with your coaches and sometimes your players and kind of speculate where it might go, and that's kind of a fun game to play. And then you're always wrong every single time. Never got it right.
It used to be like at 2 a.m. you'd find out who you're going to be playing, so you have to wait, and just keep refreshing the WIAA site to see when they popped up there. But now they have the big. I think they have a TV show again on Saturday. So,
and if you roll it way back, it used to be once you found out who you got, you got in the car with your VHS tape and you went for a car ride and met in the middle and exchanged tapes that way.
And it used to be a time where you'd play on Thursday and then Tuesday.
Yeah.
Or something like
Tuesday,
that.
Saturday.
I mean, the craziness, whatever it was.
Those were wild times, too.
It certainly was. But let's talk about last week in week number 8. And, of course, the biggest game in the area did live up to the pre-game billing as DC Everest defeated Stevens Point in double overtime, 47-41. Late in the third quarter, DCE took a 35-14 lead, but then a kickoff return touchdown sparked a SPASH comeback that ultimately forced overtime. It looked like the Panthers were going to win it in the first overtime after Everest scored, missed on a 2-point conversion. Stevens Point scored, and then a blocked extra point kept Everest alive. After the Evergreens got a stop, they were able to score the game-winning touchdown on a 1-yard plunge by Logan George. Blake Bankston, 45 rushes for 249 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's enough. Then you had 5 catches for 112 yards and a touchdown. Logan George, 12 of 21, 218 yards, 3 touchdowns and a pick. Johnny Matthews continues his recent stellar play for Stevens Point, 20 rushes for 149 yards and 2 touchdowns. Grant Shodden, 10 of 19, 172 yards and 2 touchdowns. And Johnny Ananidius, I was having a hard time with that name a few weeks ago. I had 5 catches, 107 yards, and 2 touchdowns. I mean, obviously a lot was on the line, and of course, a lot happened. I mean, you just talk about basically a lot on the plate to talk about with that game.
Yeah, I think I look back over my career, and we played in one double overtime game, and it was a week 1 game when I was at Northland Pines against Wittenberg-Burnhamwood, and I just remember how crazy that game was. So to think about that type of game being essentially for a conference championship, what a great thing for both teams. Incredible lifelong memories made, and obviously a little bit better memories for the Evergreens. And how about Blake Bankston? I mean, what more can a high school football player do in a game, and at the highest level too? So you think about with that all-conference meeting coming up and player of the year and stuff like that, he certainly put his name in the hat for that.
Wausau West gets back on the winning track, 56-24 over Eau Claire Memorial. Warriors now 4-4, 3-3 in the conference. Abe's 1-7, 1-4. Miles Walvogel, 23 rushes, 193 yards, and 4 touchdowns. Did not play in the fourth quarter, or else he would have got 200 yards. Jack Kostrowski, 8 of 15, 181 yards, 3 touchdowns passing, 11 rushes, 98 yards on the ground. Bennett Manson, 3 catches, 90 yards, and a touchdown. Shamar Simmons was solid for Memorial. Good running back, 16 carries, 113 yards, and 2 touchdowns, but much needed offensive explosion for the Warriors after the previous 2 weeks.
Yeah, they kind of looked like early season Warriors. I mean, Jack was kind of clicking. It was great to see Miles have that sort of a game. At the end of the day, Eau Claire Memorial struggles on defense, but so if West wins this game 21-6, you wonder where they're at and how things are going. But they went and they did exactly what they should do. Jack played well, Miles played well, Bennett played well. The defense did a nice job as well. Kind of shut them down. Obviously, they ended up with 24, but it was really never that close. So good win.
Marshfield continues their winning ways. 4 out of their last 5. They're now 4-4 overall, 4-1 in the conference, beating Eau Claire North 38-13. Huskies 2-6 and 1-4. Braden Rhodey, 23 rushes, 186 yards, and 4 touchdowns, 292 yards on 46 rushes as a team, 6.3 yards per carry. Not much passing, though, for Marshfield. Chase Robinson, just 2 of 8, 34 yards and an interception. So the good news, obviously, is after a very, very slow start, Marshfield has been winning a lot of football games on the back of their defense and their run game, but boy, they still are having a hard time passing the football, and they're going to need to do that against Stevens Point and then obviously in the first round of the playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually an interesting stat in that, or kind of we've seen this week after week, they probably have, if they were able to throw the football, they probably have a guy who would be one of, if not the top receiver in the conference. So the fact they can't find a way to get him the football has got to be frustrating.
And Wisconsin Rapids still winless. It was a tough crossover game facing undefeated New Richmond, and New Richmond wins 47-0. 254 on the ground, 211 through the air for New Richmond. Just it's tough right now for Wisconsin Rapids.
Tough sledding for Rapids, and New Richmond's got to feel fantastic about where they're at. I mean, what a balanced attack, 254 rushing, 211 passing. And you go back to, I can't remember if it was week 1 or week 2 when New Richmond rolled into Marshfield. Mm-hmm. And it was 7-6. 7-6. And then if you'd have told me at that time that they were going to be 8-0, and they still have a big game Friday night, so it's not like they're guaranteed, but they're definitely put themselves in a place or the opportunity to win a conference championship.
Great Northern Conference, very interesting. Boy, teams are going to be having some big games coming up this week, and they had some big games last week. Started on Thursday with Medford defeating Rhinelander 43-13. Medford still undefeated in the conference, 7-1 overall. Rhinelander will not be playing playoff football. They have been eliminated. They're 3-5 and 1-5 in the conference. Paxton Rothmeyer just every week is just rolling it up. He had 19 rushes, 311 yards, and 4 touchdowns. He now has 1,785 yards, 24 touchdowns on the season, 451 yards on the ground, 12.5 yards per carry. And Rhinelander's offense has been struggling this season, held to 170 yards of total offense. Same old story, right? Medford just keeps on running that football, and a little surprised that Rhinelander is the first team eliminated in the GNC, the only team right now eliminated.
Yeah, it's interesting. The outcome of this game, not surprising, right. But Medford's probably still going to have to find a way to throw the ball in the end. But, I mean, shout out to Paxton Rothmeyer. I mean, barring something crazy happen, and he's going to have a 2,000-yard rushing season. And I don't think people always understand how incredible that is for a high school athlete to rush for 2,000 yards in a season.
Medford will be taking on Mosinee this week, and Mosinee gives themselves a chance to earn a share of the conference championship after they shut out Antigo 34-0 last week. So Mosinee now 6-2 overall, 5-1 in the conference. Antigo 4-4 overall, but 2-4 in the conference. They still need to find a W to have any opportunity to make the playoffs. Treve-Stoffel, again, does it 3 different ways. 13 of 16 passing, 147 yards and 2 touchdowns, 8 rushes, 89 yards, and a touchdown, and adds 11 tackles on defense. Mosinee, again, since that Wausau East loss, they've been very impressive.
Yeah, and it looks like they're getting healthy. They're starting to do the things they should be doing against the common opponents like we've seen in years past. So I would say 3 weeks ago I wasn't super high on the end of the season battle with them in Medford, but I think it's kind of shaping up to be a really good football game.
Wausau East, for the first time in 12 years, will be heading to the playoffs. They clinch officially with a 24-15 win at Lakeland last week. Lumberjacks now 5-3 overall, 4-2 in the conference. T-Birds 4-4, but 2-4 in the conference. Davis Winter 8 of 11, 215 yards and 2 touchdowns. Jesse Napgezik 3 catches, 115 yards, a touchdown, added 10 tackles on defense. Our student athlete guest for this week, Elmer Heard, had 12 tackles and a sack. Evan Zock, 4 catches, 98 yards, and a touchdown. And I think the impressive aspect for East is I don't think Ian Stahl played in that game. He was hurt late in the game against Merrill 2 weeks ago. Did not see him in the stats for that one. And East still able to find a way and, again, get into the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, good for them. Obviously, they've been working hard for a couple of years, and we're excited about the opportunity to be in this conference. And I would say if you looked at the preseason predictions, whatever they were, and whoever made them, probably didn't expect East to do as well as they have, and so good for them. And right now, their offense seems to kind of be settling in and kind of relying on the big play. I mean, big yards, not a lot of attempts, a lot of big plays, big yards, big touchdowns. So if they can keep that rolling, they could surprise some people.
And finally, in the GMC, huge win for Tomahawk. They kept their playoff hopes alive and made it tough on Merrill as Tomahawk beat Merrill in Merrill Saturday 17-11. It was a rough day weather-wise, so it led to a lot of turnovers in that game. Tomahawk now 3-5 overall, 2-4 in the conference. Merrill 4-4 overall, 2-4 in the conference. So both teams still have something to play for this week. Braden Larson had 28 rushes, 107 yards, and a touchdown. Added 12 tackles, a forced fumble, and an interception on defense. But again, Saturday was the first day where the weather was a factor. I had a game over at Newman. There was that game in Merrill. I know there were a lot of turnovers in that game. But for Tomahawk, huge win. Give them a chance to play for a playoff berth. And for Merrill, 2 weeks in a row, could almost taste it. The game against East and now the game against Tomahawk, and now they have to win on Friday.
Yeah, I talked to the officials, actually, who did this game. I talked to them on Monday, and they said that Merrill really struggled early in that game. It took them pretty much an entire half before they started to seem like they were ready to play football and dial in. I'm sure the weather probably played a role on that. Playing on Saturdays kind of maybe throws you for a loop. Both teams had to do it. But, yeah, interesting matchups this week that last week's results created. A lot of opportunities for people to still make the playoffs.
We'll talk about those coming up. The CWC Large had Stratford and Amherst in the battle between the unbeatens. Amherst hung around. It was 14-14 until Stratford took the lead with 18 seconds to go in the first half. It was still a one-score game until the final minute of the third quarter before Stratford pulled away 48-20. Jack Tubbs, again, just incredible percentage in recent weeks. 14 of 16, 216 yards, 3 touchdowns, 9 carries, 62 yards, 2 more touchdowns, 6 tackles, an interception on defense. Brooks Vanderhoof had 9 rushes, 112 yards, and a touchdown as well for Stratford. Michael Glodowski had 99 yards rushing for Amherst. But I shouldn't be surprised. I know we were talking last week after the struggles that Amherst had with Wyowega Fremont that maybe it was going to be a really rough one in this one. But in the end, they did battle. They gave Stratford a pretty good matchup, but Stratford just has so many weapons, both offensively and defensively, and just right now looking like a very, very difficult matchup for anybody.
Yeah, I think Jack Tubbs is playing as good a football as maybe anybody in any conference at quarterback, and what he does throwing and running the ball, as well as what he is able to do on defense. And I think we talk about this each week about these teams who've had really nice regular seasons and what it's going to take for them to be successful in the playoffs. And I think Stratford's doing a great job of keeping that offense balanced, even maybe in games where they probably didn't need to. So I think they come out of this game probably feeling really good about the end of the season and what it's going to look like in that D5 playoff picture.
Another team that's probably feeling pretty good about what they've been up to is Wittenberg-Burnham. Continue to impress as we get deeper and deeper into the season. Chargers defeated Marathon 52-13 last week, so Whitburn now 6-2 overall, 5-1 in the CWC Large. Red Raiders lose for the 5th consecutive week. They're now 2-3, 2-6 overall, 1-5 in the conference. Bryson Schmid, 8 of 11, 110 yards, 9 rushes, 112 yards, 3 touchdowns. Jet Rogowski had 5 carries, 133 yards and a score. Michael Gunter, 8 rushes, 103 yards for Whitburn. So 3 different rushers hit the triple-digit mark for the Chargers. Javier Pinter had 9 rushes, 60 yards. True Thirds back in the lineup for Marathon had 53 yards in his return for the Raiders. But Whitburn took charge early and able to run the football. And again, this looks like continuing to build and build and build heading into the end of the regular season.
Yeah, I mean, Schmid just continues to get stronger and stronger as the weeks go on. What a great balanced attack. And if one of your 300-yard rushers is your quarterback, that's tough to defend. My favorite thing about these stats is seeing True Thir's name back in there. Yeah. Glad to see he's healthy and able to be back on the field for Marathon.
Absolutely. Colby puts themselves in a position for a playoff berth with their 3rd conference win. They defeat Spencer Columbus 28-20. Colby now 3-5 overall, 3-3 in the conference. Been a uncharacteristic struggle for Colby so far this season. Spencer Columbus eliminated from playoff contention, now at 1-5 in the conference, 2-6 overall. Brody Vigut had 92 rushes, 92 yards rushing. Gavin Voss 82 yards on the ground for Colby. Devin Timler was 20 of 31 passing for 239 yards, all 3 touchdowns for Spencer Columbus. But even with the wins, Colby right now just again not the level they've been in recent years.
Yeah.
Even this game, I think, is a bit of an example of a game there they may have won by a bigger margin in previous years.
Right. I think they've kind of inconsistency's probably been the biggest thing for Colby this year. And obviously Spencer Columbus has eliminated 1 conference win, but they sure have been challenging. The last 3 weeks they've played good football and been in each of these games, so tough loss for them.
Wyowega, Fremont, and Loyal Greenwood. If you're a scoreboard operator, you're having a good time on this night. Wyowega, Fremont put up 60, and they beat Loyal Greenwood 60-46. So Wyowega, Fremont bouncing back from that heartbreaking loss to Amherst last week. Now 4-4 in the conference, 3-3 overall. Loyal Greenwood 1-7 overall, 0-6 in the conference. Cameron Zilke for Wyowega was 13 of 20, 188 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick, 9 rushes, 62 yards, 3 touchdowns, and then added 17 tackles, a forced fumble on defense. Dawson Lind for Loyal Greenwood, 14 rushes, 186 yards, and 2 touchdowns. But Wyowega's played some of these games this year. They put up a lot of points a number of different times, and a good bounce back from a heartbreaker against Amherst.
Good bounce back, good showing for Loyal Greenwood. Maybe tough on the Wyowega Fremont defense, but definitely sets up a great Week 9 game between Wyowega Fremont and Colby this week.
See, is he here? Oh, he is here. So what we're going to do is take a 1-minute break and then come back. I this must have slipped in without me noticing.
He snuck in.
I was going to say we're going to keep on going and going and going, but no, we're going to stop right there. We will come back later on, look at the Merriwood CWC small and 8-player football. We'll look ahead to week number 9, but we also have a couple of special guests coming up in the next hour at 7:06. There'll be Elmer Heard of Wausau East, our student-athlete guest, and coming up next, the first-year head coach of the DC Everest Evergreens, Braden Mitchell. He'll be joining us coming up next. With Jason Foster, I'm Chad Holmes. It is the Big High School Sports Show presented by K5 Construction on 98.9 WXCO. On Thursday night, it's the annual Pink Ribbon Volleyball matchup as Wausau West takes on Wausau East in a match that can be heard live on 98.9 WXCO, online at BullFallsRadio.com. Mobile devices and Alexa by searching WXCO and on the Civic Media app. Coverage begins with the pre-match show at 6:50 and the first serve set for 7 p.m. Wausau West Sports on 98.9 WXCO is brought to you by the Cloverbell Credit Union, Red Robin Restaurants, Sun Printing, the Wausau West Athletic Department, North Star Restoration, K5 Construction, and Coast to Coast Marketing. It's the Pink Ribbon Volleyball Charity Matchup between Wausau West and Wausau East. Thursday, starting with the pre-match show at 6:50, first serve at 7 p.m. on your home for Wausau West Sports, 98.9 WXCO, bullfallsradio.com, mobile devices and Alexa by searching WXCO, and on the Civic Media app. And welcome back. It is the Big High School Sports Show presented by K5 Construction on 98.9 WXCO. Online at bullfallsradio.com, mobile devices, and Alexa by searching WXCO and on the Civic Media app. And we're very happy to welcome in our coach guest for this week, the head football coach at DC Everest Senior High School, Braden Mitchell. Coach, thank you for popping on over.
I appreciate you guys for having me.
I know, but the thing as well is you play tomorrow night, so it's like...
yeah, this has been a crazy week. It's been quick.
It has been. It's been quite a week. I guess before we even talk about the season as a whole, being the first-year head coach, let's talk about last week's game, because obviously it was a special night, wasn't it? Number one, it was a special night. We have a big football game at Steam, conference championship, at least a share on the line. What was the feeling at Steam last week?
Oh, it was unbelievable. The crowd has been amazing all year, and I think with every game and the success that we've had, it just keeps building bigger and bigger. And that community supports us like crazy, so it's super awesome, great atmosphere. And then I think we put on quite a show for them.
Yeah, I think that and I know you're fairly new to the conference. You were at SPASH for a little bit and now at Everest, but fairly just new to the area in general. Yeah. So coming to a place like DC Everest that has such incredible tradition, SPASH has really good football tradition. You know about that from your time there. What is it? What do you think it means to the conference for those two programs to kind of be not only back at the top but to be playing in a game like that late in the season for a conference championship?
Yeah, I think it was huge for the conference. I think the level that the conference has grown to now, I think it's getting there, and hopefully we all have some success in the playoffs this next couple of weeks. That's kind of been the big thing with our conference, right? Okay, we beat each other up all year and stuff, and now can we do it in the playoffs? So hopefully in these next few weeks we find out.
What was the feeling of that game? Because you had a 21-point lead late in the third quarter, then all of a sudden a special teams play kind of turned things around. Stevens Point came back. Then it looked like you were going to lose the football game in the first overtime. A special teams play saved the night for you, and then ultimately able to get a stop and a touchdown. What was the experience like of that roller coaster, especially in the second half and overtimes?
Yeah, and that's how I've described it. It was a roller coaster ride, right? First 5 possessions, offensively, we felt really good. Moved the ball, scored on every possession. And then, went up 35-20 or 35-14 and gave up the kick return. It's one of those where, the kick was a dribbler and guys get out of their lanes when those things happen. And their return did a great job scoring. And then it's just at that moment, it's, okay, how do we stop the momentum? How do we slow them down? And, I think we went 3 and out, or no, we got one first down, but had a quick drive and had a punt and had a great punt, but then they were 2 big plays and down and scored, and then it was like, okay, can we rally? And we threw an interception there, which was an unbelievable play by, Anadeus. Heck of a job by him.
Believe me, I did not enjoy that name.
but a heck of a kid, great athlete all night. And so, it kind of showed us like, hey, all right, now can we battle back? And we talk about it all year. It's a game of runs, it's momentum, and then how do you respond? And that's what's awesome about high school football is we found out right away how can we respond to this, and even to go on a 2-minute drive and have an opportunity to kick a game-winning field goal there at the end was huge. And I told him I take the blame for that, putting that thing on the left hash. I think if it's in the middle of the field, that thing goes right through. But again, another great play by that kid.
And one more thing, right? Like as a head coach, when you're going through the ups and downs like that, and like managing the clock, where do we want the kick to come from? Did we do enough time on special teams this week? You watch some of the college games last week, the Oregon and Ohio State game with whether he did or not.
Yeah.
We'll see that sneaking the guy in late and claiming it was strategy. Just all those things that just kind of go into a game, especially when the kids are excited, your coaching staff's excited, the crowd's going crazy. One of the things I was most looking forward to in this game was that you guys definitely in the conference have you guys in SPASH have the most offensive weapons, and they haven't let us down from week to week. Both two great quarterbacks, good running back. SPASH's kind of running back has been coming on in the last few weeks. And then so to see the stat lines after this and know what an offensive battle it was. But then what you talk about momentum and ups and downs. How does the defense react and prepare going into a game like that and kind of feeling really good about what they were, and then all of a sudden SPASH is right back in? And how hard was it for the defense Friday night?
Yeah, I mean, and it's why I've never been good at being on that side of the ball, because it's so reactive and so I mean, we've talked about it all year with our defense of like, hey, can we eliminate the big plays? And when we do that, when we make teams have to go on drives, that's when we've had some success. We're very fortunate with the guys that we have on offense. So the philosophy's kind of shifted a little bit of like, hey, we don't have to be perfect on defense. We just have to, be sound and be over the top. And, against a great offense like SPASH had, they'll make you pay for any little mistakes. And Grant did a great job. He hit a few different posts that got us. But I think, again, it was the resiliency and being able to respond, even in the overtime when one play hit the fade to score, and our guys didn't blink. Like, it wasn't like, oh, man, we're done, like this game's over. They were ready to go on the extra point, like lined up, ready to rock, and then got after it. And, like, hey, our backs were against the wall, and we showed, like, hey, we're ready to play, and we deserve this thing.
Again, we're talking to Braden Mitchell, the head football coach at DC Everest, here on the Big High School Sports Show, presented by K5 Construction on 98.9 WXCO. Well, we talked about last Friday. Let's go back. Let's go back to the beginning, maybe, of the process for this year, because last spring you came in here and talked to me back, I don't even know what month it was. It was right after you got hired as the head football coach at Everest. Between then and today, between the time you talked to me then and the time you're talking to me right now, how much has gone as maybe you thought it would go, and how much has been unexpected?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to expect to be, sitting 5-0 in conference and having at least a share like that. That wasn't what the expectation was, I guess, in my mind. I expected us to be good. I expected us to be tough. And I expected us to do great things with the leadership that we had and the senior group that we have. But for it all to kind of go this way, yeah, I don't know if I would say that's exactly what I expected. Offensively, we knew we had a lot of guys back, so I was expecting our offense to be good, and I think throughout each week we've gotten better and better. The biggest thing we keep talking about is eliminating the mistakes, and I think that that was a big thing on Friday night. But yeah, I think ultimately the work that they put in from the moment that I got the job, all summer into the early preseason and all of that stuff, I think has shown up throughout all of these late games.
Let me just jump in. Even beyond what's been the football aspect, the record and all that, what about the job itself? Because taking over as the head football coach, leading a program like DC Everest, has it been as smooth? Has it been unexpected bumps? How has that process gone? Because, again, it's not taking over a small school. It's taking over a large school with great football tradition. How has that process gone?
Yeah, I mean, it's all the bumps. Like, there's so many unexpected bumps, and it's every week there's something new and something little here and there. I mean, again, I'll mention, like, the support from everybody has been awesome. But, yeah, there's nonstop little things that, whether it's our practice field, we don't have sprinklers on our practice field, so it's been torn up. And, after a season of playing, like, because of the new building, which the new building's awesome. You were in there the other day. Like, it's great. But, yeah, we don't have sprinklers. So we've had to use that more. And then that, the scheduling of that and everything. There's just a lot of little things. Even as much as our athletic trainer, he got another job. And so he's been gone for the last 2 weeks. So we've been hit or miss with the trainer. So there's been a lot of just unexpected things. And I think, to me, that's high school football. That's, we're dealing with that even at a school like DC Everest. And that's, again, it just goes back to our kids, like, no matter where we're practicing at, what time, how things shift and stuff, they just rally around it and say, hey, we're here to play football. We're here to get after it. We only get so much time to do it. And so, yeah, I think ultimately it just teaches, again, more and more life lessons that you never know what tomorrow's going to bring. You just got to roll with it and keep going.
It's kind of piggybacking off of that, Chad's first question, and a little bit where that one went as well. So when you got the job, so it was nice that you were on staff. So you had a year of understanding what DC Everest is, the facilities, the little things, the ins and outs. But being essentially new in a program that has such rich tradition, and so many people on the coaching staff either are or ones who left have been part of that tradition. What was the transition like the balancing act between understanding that DC Everest has this long existing tradition and there's a lot of expectations, but also making it Coach Mitchell's program and kind of putting your spin from your experience, because you've been a head coach prior to this as well. So what did you do to kind of ease that transition or make it work with the kids, starting when you got the job?
Yeah, I think it was a little more unique. I mean, we had the legendary Stephen Hagen, right? Yep. Coach Stephen Hagen was great, and the last two coaches kind of came from him, and so it was a lot of similarity, and they each had their own spin on things. But I think that was what allowed me, is I didn't ever get to know Coach Stephen Hagen. I've heard plenty of stories, a lot of great things from him, but it allowed me to kind of be able to, hey, this is how I want to run things, this is how I want to do things. And we have a lot of guys on staff that either played for him or coached with him, and were there during the glory days and during a lot of success. So we were able to kind of morph that together and take, hey, these are things that I've done that I really like and I want to implement here. These are gaps that I've had, right? I was a young head coach. I was a head coach at 27. And so I didn't know it all. And I found out real quick that I didn't. And so there was a lot of gaps that I needed to fill in. And that's where our staff has been amazing. Each guy stepping up, from coordinators to O-line coaches. I mean, we lead the state in O-line coaches, and I think it's been huge for us to be able to have those guys, because you can't ever get enough of them, and they're willing to do all the extra jobs and all the extra things that you need. So, they've definitely helped fill in and just been, okay, how has DC Everest done this, and has it been good, or do we need to change that? And that's been huge for us.
And I think from an outside view look at it, and I played against Coach Stephen Hagen, so very familiar with the Valley and all that stuff, and you being kind of new to it, understanding the tradition, I've always thought too, from an outsider looking in, that the kids are kind of in the same boat. They play for DC Everest and they see all the names and all the tradition and the state championships, but none of those kids have known him at this point. So they're so I think it's probably was a good mesh for them too, to kind of be able to say, yeah, we play for DC Everest, but we play for Coach Mitchell, and this is how DC Everest football is in 2024. Yeah,
I definitely think that's helped, and I think I'm very lucky with this senior group. But I think it was good for this group to be able to hey, these are the traditions we want to set. This is how we want to do this thing, and to allow them to kind of run with some stuff, and the leadership council of 10 guys that we have to kind of set some things. Hey, how do you want to run this? How do you want practices to look? What things do you guys want to do? Because they get to kind of set what the tradition looks like going forward. And I think that's definitely been helpful.
Again, we're talking to DC Everest football coach Braden Mitchell here on WXCO. One of the things that really has jumped out this year, it's really, as somebody enjoys watching solid offensive football more than maybe you do, but the thing that when you've been able to do it in different ways. You go back to that River Falls game. I thought that was sort of, it was, I had not seen an Everest team that just decided we're going to pound that football right down your throat in quite a long time. And it was surprising because I knew coming into this season, you got a kid like Logan George, who's such a good quarterback. You had Xavier Edwards, who's such a good wide receiver. I mean, Cohen Preby's a great athlete himself. And then you have a game where Logan gets 300-plus yards passing, darn near brings you all the way back against Chippewa Falls. I mean, can you talk a little bit about what your offense is? I mean, as a play caller, because you obviously have the flexibility to say, hey, this is really working. We can pound this football. But at the same time, if you see it working up top, you're able to do that as well. Could you talk a little bit about your offensive philosophy? I know we talked about it last spring, about where you came from, and I think how that's built on. But maybe just a little bit about generally the way you look at offensive football.
Yeah, I mean, I love that we can be multiple, and we're lucky to have the guys that we have that allow us to be multiple. We get in, 10 personnel where we're one tight end or one running back, and our tight ends flexed out, and we look like we're in 4 receivers. We can get into a 12 set and be 2 tight ends and 1 running back. We can get into a heavy set and be 2 tight ends and 2 running backs. And we can kind of play around with it all. And so really when I look in game planning, it's part of it's based off of what the defense has done in the previous games and how they align to the different formations. And everybody runs similar type stuff and how we can kind of match up. And then I just look at, okay, are they going to try to take away the run? And usually going into a game, we expect, hey, they're going to be aware of where Blake is. Where's Bankston? They're going to be aware of him. And then sometimes we get in games and they're not. Like, sometimes it's like last week it felt like, okay, they're going to be more worried about our receivers and stop our big plays, which I definitely get because we can be explosive. But then that just opens it up and, Blake can go for 10-yard run, 10-yard run, 10-yard run. And then we get in games where, hey, they're going to take away 5. They're going to load the box. And, Xavier and Cohen can take advantage of that. Cole O'Brien at tight end takes advantage of that when we get into our 2 tight end sets with Cademan Anderson. It really puts a lot of stress. And then they're such good athletes, Cademan and Cole, that we can still run our whole passing game out of a 2 tight end set. So I think it's very tough. That's why I don't envy being a defensive coordinator. There's so much that I think that we're lucky enough to do offensively, and especially coming off this last week, I text Coach McAdams. I said I feel like I'm officially a Wisconsin head coach. I had a running back that took 50 touches. Like I think I'm legit now. So I think that again that's the kind of kids that we have. I think I think that we do a good job offensively and taking advantage of what the defense gives us, but when you have kids like we have, it makes it a lot easier.
So you've been in the conference for a few years now, so you have a decent understanding of the Wisconsin Valley Conference. What have your thoughts been this year of the new conference, and then with the crossover games for non-conference and then the one conference crossover game? How do you compare the two? Where do you think the Valley sits versus the Big Rivers?
Well, those first 2 weeks, it was tough for the Valley, I think. Yeah. We kind of went into it, and we knew Rice Lake was going to be good, but across the board, I think, was it only 1 win in the first week? It shows the Big Rivers is really good. New Richmond and Rice Lake, what they're doing, and being D2 and being able to do what they're doing has been unreal. I think that it kind of put both of our conferences like, hey, this is going to be competitive. Like, it's going to be tough, and I think it's good. I think we found out a lot in that first game. Where we are, things that we needed to work on. I think for me personally, it was a huge eye opener from a program standpoint of just how clean and crisp Rice Lake was on everything, and just kind of like, okay, there's a lot of stuff that I need to work on. And then getting into River Falls where they're super talented, and I think we caught them on some things and got after them a little bit. But I think both conferences very competitive, very tough. Obviously, again, New Richmond and Rice Lake kind of being a step above it. But I think it's going to be fun for these next few years, as long as this realignment stays, where I think we're going to get some good competitive football, especially those 2 non-conference right off the bat. I think those games are going to be huge, and huge in setting up seeding and all those things that it leads into. But I think the Valley, I think we're getting better. I think that there's a lot of things that are improving. I think we're finding out what it takes and how we can match up with different teams. I think it's been going to be fun these next few years.
Yeah, I think it's going to make each other better, playing the Hudsons and the Rice Lakes and the Menominees and the New Richmonds in those non-conference games. And then it'll also be really interesting to see as we get into the playoffs now, and you bring in a couple teams from the East, wherever, whether it's the FRCC teams or the Fox Valley teams. But I think hopefully over time, the Big Rivers and the Valley kind of beating up on each other or making each other compete better maybe helps us stack up better to the East, which is, I think, ultimately the goal in this part of the state.
What do you think? Do you think about like where you may land in the postseason? Or do you just go day to day with practice?
In previous years, I did. I tried to do the whole map out the state and plot the eights. And like this year, I don't know if I've had time to look into that. But I know that I've heard different things. It sounds like there's probably 10 to 12 teams that are kind of in that range, and so it'll be interesting to see how it shakes out. Every time I've tried to do it, like they twist it one way here or there, and it's like, okay, why did they do that? But Yeah, I mean, looking at it, I'm excited for Saturday. We've got a plan for have everybody together in the morning, have some breakfast, and then watch the show as a team. I think that'll be a cool experience for us and kind of a different deal. And I think, yeah, then it's go time and prepare. And
Right.
had to already warn my wife, and God bless her. Like it's been crazy these last few months. It's crazy being a head coach, but I at least get the joy and all that stuff from Friday nights. Like for her, it's stressful on Friday nights too. So, God bless her.
I guess before we do wrap it up, I wanted to. You mentioned the leadership council, and we talked about some of the guys who are obviously outstanding on the field. Who are the leaders on this team? Who are the guys that you've kind of leaned on here in this first year as a head coach that have really maybe have stepped up? Maybe you knew that was going to happen. Maybe you didn't know it was going to happen. But who are some of the guys that deserve that credit beyond the on-field activities, but in the locker room, on the practice field? Who are the kids that have really shown that top-notch leadership?
Yeah, I mean, the nice thing is that it is those guys, right? It's Logan George, it's Blake Bankston, it's Oscar Latondras, our great left tackle. It's Brendan Peterson, our middle backer, who, they all do it on the field, but what's even better is that they do it off the field. And they're in the locker room, they're the last guys to leave, they're cleaning it up. We got Cademan Anderson and Cole O'Brien that do a great job. Just leading by example and always being in the right spot, doing the right things. Some great young juniors that are stepping into those leadership roles with Silas Weber and even Brad Rickert. He got injured early on. His back's in a bad place, but he's been a great leader and shows up every day. What can I do to help? How can I help? And then our two receivers, Cohen Preby and Xavier Edwards, they're on that as well. And they bring a little different vibe to things. They're classic receivers that are just fun to be around and do a great job, but know when to lock it in and show up on game time.
And one more question, actually, because we'd like to as well talk about the general state of the program as you look, because obviously you're in charge. You look at the varsity, people look at the varsity every Friday night. Yeah. How is the numbers throughout the entire program, going down to the middle school level and everything else? Where does DC ever stand at this point?
Yeah, I mean, I think we definitely got some work to do with our younger levels, 7th and 8th grade levels. We've got some good numbers there, and we did a little bit differently. We had, split them up and had 2 teams at each of those levels, just again to kind of focus on getting kids playing, getting kids going, and enjoying it and having fun. And then our freshmen and sophomores, we have some smaller classes there, so we are going to need some guys to step up and to fill in. We do have athletes there. Like that's the nice thing about where we're at is we do have some guys. But yeah, it's going to be a depth thing, and I think I think a lot of schools are in that boat, right? Like you lose one guy, and it's like, sure. Now I lose 2 or 3, and so yeah, I mean, it's always going to be that, but it's great, and it provides great opportunities for other guys to step up and step into that role.
Anything else, Coach?
No, just congratulations on a great first year. Good luck Friday night or Thursday night for you guys, and can't wait to see how things go in the playoffs. Good luck.
Thank you.
Braden Mitchell, head football coach of DC Everest, our coach guest for this week. We're going to take a 1-minute timeout and continue our recap of week number 8 of the season. And again, at 7:06, our student athlete guest will be Elmer Heard of Wausau East. It is the Big High School Sports Show presented by K5 Construction on 98.9 WXCO. It's the final week of the high school football regular season. And on Friday, the Wausau West Warriors look to clinch a playoff berth, playing host to River Falls. Hear all the exciting action live on 98.9 WXCO. Online at BullFallsRadio.com. Mobile devices and Alexa by searching WXCO and on the Civic Media app. Coverage begins with the pregame show at 6:35 and the opening kickoff at 7 p.m. Wausau West Sports on 98.9 WXCO is brought to you by the Cloverbell Credit Union, Red Robin Restaurants, Sun Printing, the Wausau West Athletic Department, North Star Restoration, K5 Construction, and Coast to Coast Marketing. It's Wausau West hosting River Falls and high school football Friday night, starting with the pregame show at 6:35 and the opening kickoff at 7 p.m. on 98.9 WXCO, BullFallsRadio.com. Mobile devices and Alexa by searching WXCO and on the Civic Media app. And welcome back. It is the Big High School Sports Show presented by K5 Construction here on 98.9 WXCO, online at bullfallsradio.com, mobile devices, and Alexa by searching WXCO, and on the Civic Media app. Again, thanks to Braden Mitchell for coming on in. And you can sense the excitement. I mean, after a game like last week, and now knowing that the playoffs are coming, it just does get ratcheted up this time of year, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. And it was great talking to Coach Mitchell. Like it is, and it whatever. I don't know how to say it the right way, but it is a little bit of a changing of the guard at DC Everest, for better, for however you want to look at it, however it came to be this way. But I think it's good. Like I look at what Coach is doing down at SPASH and kind of change some things after a long run. I look at how things are changing there. I just think it's good for the conference. I think they each bring something unique. I think they've stepped up the offensive game in the conference and forces everybody to be better when they prepare for them.
Changes at West after Jason Foster gets moved aside. I tell you,
we met as a conference yesterday. Did a sportsmanship thing with all the kids, and I was kind of talking with the ADs. I said, looking at what's happening at SPASH and Everest, I think it's time to get rid of Biola and Gadel and Johnson, get rid of the old guard and replace them with these new young guys who are tearing it up.
Oh, you're trouble. You're trouble. Let's continue talking about week number 8. We got through the Wisconsin Valley, Big Rivers East, the Great Northern, and the CWC Large, CWC Small / Merrillwood, whatever they're calling it these days. I'm not really sure. It's labeled on WisSports as Merrillwood / CWC. I called it the CWC Small for much of the year. But the one thing is, whether it's CWC Small, whether it's Merrillwood, it is Edgar. They continue to dominate that conference. Edgar defeated Pacelli 47-0 last week. Edgar now 7-1 overall, 6-0 in the conference. Pacelli 2-5 overall, 2-4 in the conference. Edgar led 28-0 after one quarter, but they do what they do. They return kicks, and they had 2 punt return touchdowns in the first quarter. Maverick Butt had 4 carries, 57 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Tucker Street, 4 of 4, 90 yards, 2 touchdowns for Edgar. Bryce Flaker, 14 carries, 48 yards for Pacelli. But so far this season, since that Stratford game, Edgar's just kind of rolled. No threats.
Yeah, and that's great for them. They'll come in fresh and healthy, but also unchallenged, and it'll be interesting to see how that sets up in the playoffs and what that competition that they see, because they have not had a lot of challenges in the second half of the season.
One team that could challenge this week, on a good night. It's not going to be easy, obviously, but Abbotsford is 7-1, 5-1 in the conference. They defeated Rosholt 43-28. Rosholt 1-7 overall, 0-6 in the league. Abbotsford came out very quickly. It was 35-0 Falcons after one quarter. Irvin Aguilera did not have a lot of work. He had 2 rushes, 55 yards, and a touchdown for Abbey. Keegan O'Donnell was 12 of 27, 206 yards, 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions for Rosholt. But Abbotsford bouncing back after losing to Auburndale, 7-1, 5-1. And how do you look at, for Abbotsford? They had a tough one against one of the other top teams. Is it a good thing to play Edgar in week number 9?
I would bet they're going to say probably not. But at the same time, yeah. I mean, if you're going to be competitive in the playoffs and you want to get further, which I think is where the Abbotsford program is at, right? They want to get to level 2, level 3. In week 9, you're going to see what a level 4, level 5 state team looks like. So I think it will be a good test for them. They definitely need to have a good game plan and come in looking for those. I mean, obviously they're going to come in to try to win, tall order, but can we slow them down? Can we force their starters to play the entire game?
Iola Scandinavia roughed up Pittsfield 41-6. Again, Iola's been very, very good this season. They're now 6-2, 4-2 in the conference. Pittsfield 2-6, 2-4 in the conference. Jensen Rice, who's been just stellar at the quarterback position, 13 rushes, 129 yards and 3 touchdowns. Billy Myers, 10 rushes, 97 yards. Another big rushing night overall for IS. 299 yards on 30 carries. Dawson Luther, 15 rushes, 69 yards for Pittsfield. I was a little surprised it was this big of a margin in this game.
Yeah, I think we keep looking for maybe Pittsville to step up and maybe slow some other teams down or have a little bit more of a showing. But I think it probably speaks more to who Iola is, and maybe they're getting ready for a run in the postseason.
And Auburndale shut down Assumption 49-0. Auburndale 7-1, 5-1 in league. Assumption winless on the season. 2 100-yard rushers, 337 yards rushing on 30 attempts as a team. 11.2 yards per rush for Auburndale. In 8-player football, in a game that I had on Saturday here on 98.9 WXCO, I had a 56-24 game on Friday night, had a 56-24 game on Saturday afternoon as Newman Catholic defeated Tri-County 56-24. 6-1 Cards. Penguins now 5-2. Everett Pent, 11 rushes, 128 yards and 2 touchdowns. Carson Rice, 9 carries, 116 yards, 3 scores. Newman ran it up and down the field, 413 yards rushing, 9.3 yards per carry as a team. And again, we talk about those numbers, but again, it's up front. That's where Newman is able to have some injuries on their skill areas and still be able to perform because they have their 3 experienced linemen. They're still doing the job.
Yeah, no matter what happens, whoever's getting the ball behind them, they're going to protect them. They're going to open the holes and they're going to make plays. And they're going to make stops on the other side of the ball, which I think is probably a part we don't talk about enough. The other big takeaway from this one is I was listening. Deb and I were listening to this one on the radio, and
I love hearing that.
It took you saying it 3 times before we both said, are they really called the Penguins? I did not know Tri-County was the Penguins. So it was
perfect Penguin weather too.
Yes, it was, and good for Newman to play in that weather because probably going to see more of that in the playoffs.
They probably will. Athens is 0-7. I don't know how they're 0-7 because, I mean, they've played a lot of tight games. They played a lot of pretty good games, and they played Rib Lake and fell 38-36. Rib Lake is 5-2. Athens is 0-7. Athens had a chance to tie in the fourth quarter on a 2-point conversion, failed. Rib Lake has been very impressive in their first year of 8-player football. Tucker Phillips, 16 rushes, 206 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Talon Scheidauer had 15 rushes, 112 yards, and a touchdown for Rib Lake. They rushed to 365 yards as a team. Evan Pacell had 13 rushes, 104 yards, and a touchdown for Athens, but it's got to be frustrating for the Athens Blue Jays because they have played some pretty good teams very, very competitively. They have just not been able to get a W.
Absolutely frustrating, first off, no doubt about that. But at the same time, it sounds like the kids are regrouping and coming back and battling each week because once you're 0-6 and because they only have 8 conference games or 8 regular season games. So when you get to that point and you're still playing teams 36-38 against good opponents, obviously there's some good coaching going on there and it's a good group of kids who are still battling.
Some other games in 8-player, Port Edwards 5-2. They bounced back from their tough loss to Newman, defeating Menominee Indian 47-12. So Port's still in the mix as a potential playoff team. Alman Bancroft likewise 6-1. They defeated Wabeno Leona 66-28. Top-ranked undefeated Owen Withee got challenged by Clayton, a team that was ranked number 9, 36-22. So OW is 7-0, Clayton 5-2. McDonald beat Thorpe 55-0. Thorpe, who made it to the 8-player state championship game a year ago, 4-3, probably on the outside looking in, basically because they're playing in a great conference. And welcome back. It is hour number 2 of the Big High School Sports Show, presented by K5 Construction on 98.9 WXCO, online at bullfallsradio.com, mobile devices, and Alexa by searching WXCO and on the Civic Media app. Joined again by former Wausau West head football coach Jason Foster. I'm Chad Holmes, and time now, as we do every week, starting off the second hour with our student-athlete guest from the Wausau East Lumberjacks, heading to the playoffs for the first time in 12 years, offensive and defensive lineman Elmer Heard. And Elmer, thank you for coming on by.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Well, again, it's got to be so much excitement where this program has been. You've been part of it, obviously, as a senior. You saw where it was coming from. The building process, not having a varsity football team, actually having the year playing 8-player, then returning last season back into action, snapping a long losing streak, getting a couple of really nice wins, and this year in the Great Northern Conference, able to earn a playoff spot. I guess if you take a whole look at the whole experience, what has it been like for the student athletes at Wausau East, part of the football program? Does it feel a little vindication with the process you've gone through?
For sure, yeah, it feels good because it's just, we've had to stay grounded with how Wausau East has been, and like seeing how it's been coming up now, it feels good, yeah.
Going through the times where you didn't have varsity football, where it probably felt like the goals were a long way away. How did you and your teammates keep the focus or keep working and say, hey, we're going to stick through this. We're going to keep on playing football. We're going to try to be there when East is back playing varsity football. Was that hard to do? Were there times where you thought, oh, maybe there's something else I could do? What kept you going in terms of football at East?
Just at the end of the day, we were all friends, and that's what we came up doing. So we just had fun playing, whether it's varsity or not.
I love it when Chad picks the host. I don't get any say in it. So I love it when
the guest.
Just
I
kidding.
pick the host.
Oh, you are the host. Chad picks the guest. But so I love it when he has on defensive guys, and I love it when he has on linemen. So you're double dipping. I think that's awesome. So obviously, playing defensive tackle, you guys are having a great season. You're having a great season. What is the mindset of overall your team, but like defense? Like, how do you guys approach week to week? What are you guys? Are you guys smart and watch a ton of film? Are you guys just gritty and tough and play with a lot of swagger? Tell me about your defense.
We're definitely gritty and watch film, but we just like to get in there, and we want to make the person next to us not want to play us the whole game. That's our mentality.
Who are some of the other guys besides yourself that are keys on the Lumberjack D?
Colin Munchow for sure. He's the other D tackle. He's been making this season much easier for me by far by making them focus on him more. And then Jesse Nupgezik on the outside linebacker, and he'll play safety sometimes.
That's actually an interesting point, because as a defensive tackle, if you're on the ends, there's often more opportunities one-on-one. But, boy, when you're in the middle and you're somebody that makes plays, they're going to have a center, a guard, maybe a running back. I mean, they're going to have all sorts of people working on you. If you don't have help, you're not going to be able to get things accomplished. And I imagine that without strong teammates, you would not be able to put up some of the – I mean, again, I mentioned to you before you came on the air, you don't see defensive tackles have double-digit tackles in back-to-back weeks like you had and 3.5 sacks against Merrill. But it really is a team effort in terms of individual success.
Yeah. Like, if Munch is having a good game, then I know next game I might not have as much focus on me, and vice versa. If I'm having a good game, might not be as much focus on him, and we can all eat.
Have you noticed as you've gone? I mean, even last season you had a really, really good year. You had 72 tackles last season and 3.5 sacks. You got 7.5 sacks so far this season, and up there towards 65 tackles as well. Have you noticed over the last couple of years teams starting to focus a little bit more on you on the defensive side?
I haven't really noticed it so much when I play, but then when I watch film, I'll for sure notice that I'm getting doubled more, and just like they're running away from me or something more.
When you think about the program and the team, tell us a little bit about what it's like to play for Coach Kramer, and what are some of the things that he's done as the head coach, both out of season and in season, that's kind of led to you guys being such a tight-knit group and the success that you've had?
It's just been fun being coached by him. Like, he's a young coach, so he understands us, and he gets us involved with the community and with the team and the school, and he's always doing stuff with us. I think that's the best part, is he's not just telling us to do things, he's also doing it with us and like going to events.
Who are some of the coaches on the defensive side of the football that help you out and put you in those positions to succeed?
Coach Kong for sure. Coach Kong.
And you are a two-way player. Do you basically play every play outside of the maybe you do play the special teams? Are you basically out there for every play?
Almost, yeah. Except for kickoff, I'm out there for everything.
How do you go about that? Is it maybe you don't do anything special because you're just used to it? But when you think about being out there for every play, and especially on the lines, I mean, there's really no way of taking a play off in terms of the contact. Is it difficult? Is it something that you're just used to doing? How is the mental aspect along with the physical aspect of playing two ways?
I'm definitely used to it now, but in the beginning of the season, you're definitely worried about just cardio and your conditioning. But then after like the first game or two, you're pretty locked in and you're just ready to go. You just want to play.
Knowing that you guys are in the Wisconsin Valley Conference for everything other than football, and this is your first year in the Great Northern, what has it been like being in a different conference, a new conference, and what are some of the rivalries that you're starting to establish, and who do you look forward to playing?
It's definitely a little different being in different conferences. Like, the vibes are different, but as far as rivalries, it's definitely Merrill and Rylander are the top two for me.
Let me ask you about this season because it 5-3 and 4-2 in the conference. Was there a point? Was there a moment? Was there a game? Was there a victory that maybe a turning point is maybe a too strong of a word, but a tipping point for your team that said, "Oh, we may be having something going here"? Was there a moment?
Not really. We kind of knew that from the beginning. We just had to execute. We just had to get it rolling.
What about the Mosinee game? Obviously, they've had a lot of success in the Great Northern Conference, and in fact, this year that's the only loss they've had in the GNC. To have them come over to a Tom Field, was that a special win?
Yeah, that was definitely a game that we were like, we could do something with this. It was a pretty big game for us, yeah.
Again, we're talking to Elmer Heard, senior for the Wausau East Lumberjacks, here on the Big High School Sports Show, presented by K5 Construction on 98.9 WXCO, online at bullfallsradio.com, mobile devices and Alexa by searching WXCO, and on the Civic Media app. We'll get back to football and talk a little bit towards your game this week and, of course, the playoffs as well. But outside of football, what other sports are you involved in?
I do wrestling in the winter and track in the spring.
And Coach was asking you, what weight do you wrestle at?
215.
How much success have you had wrestling? Is that something that you've had some success in?
I found some success in it. I mainly just started it for football, and then I just found some success in it.
So if you're going to wrestle at 215, what do you weigh right now?
Probably about 220.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
So you're right in there. You don't have to worry. You don't have to worry about cutting. What do you like to do? So you're a very involved three-sport athlete. What do you like to do that isn't involved with one of your sports? I know that takes up a lot of your time, but what do you like to do in your free time when you have some?
I like to go to the gym if that counts as not being involved, and then I like to play the game.
That's interesting because you've noticed as well. It seems as though whenever we ask these athletes who are successful, what you like to do for fun, it involves being in the weight room. And you as a coach, I mean, obviously, you love to hear that because without that, that's why someone like Elmer does get all that success, right?
The two definitely go hand in hand.
Go back to track and field. What events are you involved in on the track side?
I do shot put and discus, and then I run the 100 meter.
220-pound 100-meter guy. That's got to be intimidating for some of those folks stepping into the blocks.
Sure.
What's your favorite class or classes in school, and are you involved in anything else in school outside of sports?
My favorite class would probably be psych, and then I'm not involved in anything outside of sports.
Are you hoping to continue to be involved in some athletics at the college level?
That is a hope. That's a plan for sure.
Is there a sport is it football that you're hoping to continue?
Yeah, it's football.
Have you had any contact with some colleges or coaches like that?
Yeah, I have.
What's that like? For those of us like myself, I don't know, maybe you had some folks after you, but I never had that opportunity. What's it like when you have a college coach that either sends you a note or gives you a call? Is it a rush? Is it something that says, oh, maybe I am on the right track here? Could you maybe, for those folks out there, explain what it's like when this recruiting process begins?
Yeah, it's definitely a little intimidating for sure when you first get the message, but it is a rush, because it's like, you're doing the right things and you're on the right track. So, you just have to keep getting better and just keep improving.
And it's also good for your team and your program, right? Like you're doing the hard work. People are recognizing you're going to camps and you're doing the things like those are all things that help move your team and your program forward when guys start to go on and play at the next level. Agreed?
Yeah, for sure.
Let's look ahead. You got Anago coming up on Friday night to wrap up the regular season and then the playoffs. Obviously, there's work to be done because that's a significant game. They're going to come out with everything they have because they got to win that football game to have any chance of the playoffs. But at the same time, you want to be in a position to be as highly seeded as possible. It'd be great to not have to get on a bus in a couple of weeks' time. When you look ahead, though, towards the playoffs, do you, when you maybe put your head on the pillow, do you start thinking already about what it's going to be like to actually be in a football playoff game for Wausau East, or something that hasn't happened for any of your teammates in their high school careers?
I've definitely had some thoughts about it, especially with the chances of us having a home game, but it's really just been focused on ending the season on Anago with a good win and going to the playoffs confident.
Knowing that you already have a playoff spot secured, obviously you're going to take care of business Friday night and beat Anago. Do you guys have any plans as a team to kind of get together on Saturday and see where you end up?
Yeah, we are planning on getting a little watch party going for the Playoffs.
So let me ask you about preparation for a game, because obviously you have a lot on your plate. You're both on the offensive side and the defensive side. How do you go about preparing each week? How much work is done in terms of watching film? Could you give us a little insight on the work week? Because folks will go out there on Friday night, see your team in action, see what you're doing. Could you talk a little bit about the preparation side to get ready for a football game? What do you do in terms of your week?
Yeah, for me, early in the week is I'm just getting my film hours up, and I'll take some notes on things that I need to, and then I'll share it with my other teammates. And then when we go to the field, it's just hoping the coaches bring a good scout plan for us, and then just hoping everyone practices hard and with intent.
Do you spend more time when you're watching film and preparing? Do you spend more time focusing on the opposing offense as a whole and what they do, running the ball, formations, sets, that sort of thing? Or do you spend a fair amount of time looking who you're going to line up against and what might work from week to week against that individual or those individuals?
Yeah, I take time and I look at who I'm going to be playing against, but mainly just the whole line because I'll bounce around the whole time.
Yeah, has there been a toughest opponent along that line on the defensive side first? Has there been somebody that's really impressed you so far this season with their work against you? Maybe the best player you've seen so far?
I don't know about player, but Lacrosse Logan was for sure. That was a tough game.
What do you learn in a game like that? Because you're right. You had a long trip. It was a tough team and a tough result. But yet your team after that got into the conference and has done a nice job since then. What did you and your teammates take by having a tough non-conference game? Even when you got a little bruised up, had some bumps and bruises to deal with, what did you take away from that game that helped you the rest of the season?
It just kind of reminded us about like where we started from, and just remembered that we can lose like this and that there's good teams out here. So we have to bring our A game every game, and we can't get complacent.
Anything else?
No, it's been fun to watch you guys this year and from week to week and progress, and a great win against Mosinee that's kind of put you into this situation that you're in. So good luck this week, and looking forward to see where you guys end up in the playoffs.
But we do have one final question. I always say, do you have one more question? Because I don't want to cut them off and ask the final question. But we have one question we always finish our student athlete guests with. And, of course, as a senior, you've been multi-sport athlete. You've been, gone through a lot over at Wausau East. For a teammate, whether it be football, wrestling, track, whatever it may be, who's just starting their journey at Wausau East, who's just getting involved in athletics, could be a freshman, a sophomore, whatever, what piece of advice would you give based on what you've learned over the last 3-4 years that you could give a younger student athlete to think about as they start their journey?
A piece of advice I would give would just to be involved and to really take it in. Like any chance you get, like open gyms, to go to them. Even if you don't play basketball, go to the open gym, go to the open mats. If the coach is offering a couple minutes after practice to get some work and do that, like get to know your friends and the coaches there, because you can just get a lot out of it.
Fantastic. Congratulations. Again, I really enjoyed watching you play a couple of weeks ago. Again, to see a D tackle get double-digit tackles back-to-back weeks. You're really peaking right into the end of the regular season towards the postseason. Congrats on the success during the fall, and best of luck as you finish football, and then obviously stay very busy both in the winter and the spring. And thanks for popping on by.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Elmer Heard, again, the senior from the Wausau East Lumberjacks, our student-athlete guest this week. Again, the Big High School Sports Show brought to you by K5 Construction, a family-owned and operated custom builder in central Wisconsin that stands out from the rest for its commitment to quality and excellence. From design and planning to the final construction, K5 Construction delivers superior results on every project. Well, coming up, some big games coming up in week number 9. Conference championships, playoff berths on the line, seeding possibilities as well. So we'll preview week number 9 coming up next. With Jason Foster, I'm Chad Holmes, the Big High School Sports Show, presented by K5 Construction on 98.9 WXCO.
What a week it was on the gridiron as conference races come into view and playoffs are just around the corner. I'm Travis Wilson, and this is a WisSports.net Minute brought to you by Just a Game Fieldhouse in Wisconsin Dells. You may have heard of Just a Game Fieldhouse in Wisconsin Dells, one of the country's premier destinations for youth sports and events, but did you know that Just a Game does so much more? Just a Game also delivers end-to-end apparel, equipment, and event solutions. With their state-of-the-art screen printing and embroidery facility, they can help with branding for your team and business items, including uniforms, apparel, and more. Just a Game also offers digital services that include a cashless digital platform and event live streaming. Just a Game has also added a second brand new facility in Reedsburg. Find more information at justagame.com. Week 8 of the high school football season was one of the more competitive and exciting weeks we've seen in a while. The showdown for first place in the FRCC North was a perfect example of that, as Bayport and West Appear went toe-to-toe. After Bayport scored to go up with just 26 seconds left, West Appear marched quickly down the field and got in position for Brandon Schaefer to boot a 49-yard game winner as time expired in a 45-42 West Appear victory. Baldwin-Woodville downed previously undefeated Prescott 41-30 behind 339 yards of offense from North Dakota State commit Gavin Sell. The Blackhawks are now in sole possession of first place in the middle border. Wauwatosa East scored a program-changing 27-0 shutout win over Catholic Memorial on Friday to force a tie atop the Parkland Conference. Malachi Mack ran for 201 yards and 4 scores. Cuba City downed Darlington 14-12 in the Quick Trip in Wisconsin Dairy game of the week. Elsewhere, Grantsburg took control of the Lakeland with a 42-28 win over Ladysmith, and Spring Valley won a first-place showdown in the Dunn St. Croix over Boyceville 19-18. A total of 160 teams have clinched playoff spots heading into Week 9 as teams scramble to try to get to 4 conference wins and a guaranteed spot in the postseason. Be sure to head to wisports.net for full playoff projections and other information. This has been a wisports.net Minute. Check us out online at wisports.net.
We are the NFHS. That stands for the National Federation of State High School Associations. But really, what we stand for, together with the WIAA, are the 178,000 high school sports students in Wisconsin. And so we stand. We stand for the runners, soccer and basketball players. We stand for their coaches, administrators, and officials. We stand for the swimmers, football players, and wrestlers. We stand for the golfers, softball, and volleyball players. We stand as the national leader and advocate for high school athletics and all who participate in them and make them possible, because it is our purpose to ensure that high school students get to play, perform, and compete together. To learn more about who we are and what we stand for, visit nfhs.org.
And welcome back. Big High School Sports Show presented by K5 Construction on 98.9 WXCO. Online at bullfallsradio.com. Mobile devices and Alexa by searching WXCO. And on the Civic Media app. With Jason Foster, I'm Chad Holmes. And again, real nice to talk to Elmer Heard. And it's always interesting. This is a guy who's on the line. Very soft-spoken, big guy. Great athlete, but comes across very soft-spoken, and then you probably get him in the helmet and the pads. He's probably a completely different guy because he's had a fantastic year. And as I said, he had double-digit tackles and like 3.5 sacks against Merrill, then had 12, 13 tackles last week in that big win up in Lakeland, had another sack and a half or a sack in that game as well. And one of the things that's interesting, we had DeAndre Bournes from West, another guy, interior. That's not easy, as I was talking about, where on the defensive end, you have an opportunity sometimes to get that one-on-one. So very often, if you're somebody that's a great defensive tackle, you got to beat 1, 2, sometimes 3, maybe even sometimes 4 players to get to that quarterback.
Yeah, and if you're putting up the type of numbers that Elmer is, people, and you're as big as he is, people recognize you, and they're gonna game plan for you and run away from you. I like what he said about how he knows if his teammate has a good game one week, he's probably going to have a better game the next week because they're going to give him more attention. The other nice thing, too, to them going to the Great Northern Conference is a young man like him has the opportunity to earn a much better chance at earning those postseason honors, those all-conference recognition, and then the hope for all-region and beyond. The situation they were in the Wisconsin Valley Conference, tough to get the wins, tough to compete oftentimes from week to week, and then so tough for those players to get those stats and get recognized. So great opportunity for those players to get recognized this year.
And the thing about it, last season in the Wisconsin Valley Conference, his numbers very similar to what they are this year. In fact, he's going to need 10 tackles to match his season total from a year ago. He had 5 more tackles for loss in the Valley. I mean, he's putting up great numbers both these seasons. So, again, he was able to rise to the occasion in the WVC a year ago as well. So, and also, I think one of the most impressive aspects is he had a 215, 220, the 100-yard dash.
Yeah.
I mean, I was assuming, just field events, but to be in the 100, that is impressive.
That's a big dude moving fast.
All right, well, week number 9, and boy, there's some big matchups, and there's a lot of excitement, and it's really, again, it's been building and building and building, and then, of course, it's a big weekend because all the games being either played, some games tomorrow, as we talked about with Everest, and then, of course, everybody gets ready for Saturday morning to wait for the brackets to be released, and again, this is always one of the best parts of the last week of the season. It was different in the past, but there's still that same excitement because you got the games, and then you got something else to look forward to very, very quickly.
Yeah, and then so many times that first round or second round of the playoffs becomes that unfamiliar opponent. So, I mean, when you play conference play, it's great to have the rivalries. It's great to play people, but you look at some of the things in the CWC, large and small, right? Like from week to week, they kind of know like this is going to be a tough whatever. But when you play somebody outside your conference who you don't know as much about and you can't kind of do those common opponent type things, it makes it a little more exciting.
Let's talk about the matchups. And in the Wisconsin Valley BRC East, most of the teams that we know that are going to the playoffs really don't have to win. I think West being the one exception where you really don't want to have to worry about it in any way, but it does not appear that they would miss out even with a loss. But the conference championship actually will be on the line tomorrow night at Karsten Park when DC Everest goes to Eau Claire Memorial. Everest 6-2 overall, 5-0 in the WVC BRC East. Memorial 1-7, 1-5, and again tomorrow night at Karsten Park. And of course, Everest comes off that heart-stopping double overtime win against Stevens Point. The Evergreens, as we talked about, again, one of the toughest aspects of a matchup against DC Everest is that balance on offense when you got Blake Bankston able to run it, as much as they possibly can. But if you decide, hey, we're going to stop him, we're going to put a lot of kids in the box, they have the ability with Logan George and Xavier Edwards and Cohen Preby and their tight ends to be able to throw the football as well. And you got to think tomorrow night, the numbers will be as big as they want them to be.
Yeah, for
because
sure.
Eau Claire Memorial's given up more than 41 points per game, and we saw them last week. And they got some, again, on the offensive side, I was very impressed with that running back. I thought he did a very nice job, but boy, they just don't have the ability consistently to stop anybody.
Yeah, and the offensive style they run gives them the opportunity to score some points, but also makes it hard on their defense because if they don't move the ball, the clock doesn't move much and you give it back to your opponent, and that makes for a tough one. The other nice thing about Everest last week is coming. I mean, you don't take any games for granted, but getting that huge win, nice knowing that you're ending with Eau Claire Memorial, that it's probably not going to be a huge run at their ability to win a conference championship. And SPASH comes out of that, with not a game against Marshfield, who's been playing decent football and scoring more points lately. And I think has the potential to give SPASH a good game.
Let's talk about that. Marshfield 4-4. Who thought that a few weeks back? It was not looking very pleasant for the Marshfield Tigers. 4-4, 4-1 in the WVC. SPASH 5-3, 4-1 in the conference. They have the same conference record again. 4-1 in the conference. We aren't counting the crossovers, but even though we did, they were both 4-2.
Right.
So there's no change in that respect. And this will determine second place in the conference. Marshfield has a chance to get second place in the conference. They got off to that terrible start with 3 straight losses to start the season, but the defense has been stout. We saw it. That's a very impressive defense. They brought to Tom Field a couple of weeks back. Solid running game as well. SPASH looking to bounce back, but SPASH, they have the ability to throw the ball much better than Marshfield, and that could be a big factor in this game.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely. And I would say the other one thing about Marshfield is huge motivation for them to pick up another win. Beating SPASH would be a great win for them because they're going D2 in the playoffs, so that would definitely help their seeding. But yeah, I think SPASH is probably looking to get back on the right track. They battled like crazy last week, had a heartbreaker, but this is a good opportunity for them to get right and be strong going into the playoffs.
in a game that we will have right here on 98.9 WXCO, bullfallsradio.com, and on the Civic Media app on Friday night. River Falls at Wausau West. It's a massive game with big playoff implications for both teams. River Falls 3-5, 2-4 in the BRC. Wausau West 4-4, 3-3 in the WVC BRC East. And again, just for folks to realize that every team in these two conferences have one crossover game between weeks 3 and 9 for these two teams. They're waiting to the final week of the regular season. And the crossover games between weeks 3 and 9 count in the playoff formula. Basically, if you get 3 conference wins, you're eligible, and we'll see where you fall with the tiebreaker. And if you get 4 conference wins, that you are automatically in the conference, in the playoffs. So if Wausau West 3-3 in the conference, and they get this win, that is number 4. That would automatically put them in. And for River Falls, 2-4 in the BRC, they get a 3rd win, then they're eligible in all likelihood, based on the strength of that conference. And we can say it. They will be in the playoffs if they get to 3-4 because of the strength of their conference and the strength of their wins. So, again, and the thing about River Falls, their season was dead last week. They were dead and buried. They were playing a good Menominee team on the road. They were down by 13 at halftime. They had lost 4 games in a row, 29-6 in the second half. They win the game, and all of a sudden, it's a whole new season, and that's a dangerous opponent for the Warriors, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a good football team. I mean, they're not too many years removed from a conference championship over there. And when I would say Coach Mitchell kind of touched on it, and the Valley is looking to improve and get better. But I think if you ask most people right now, you would say that side over there in the Big Rivers is probably a little stronger than the Wisconsin Valley. So they've been in some tough games against some really good teams, and definitely a dangerous team coming over on Friday night.
Let's kind of look at this. Let's look at these teams in the Valley BRC East and see who's won their crossover game. DC Everest. Nope. Stevens Point.
Nope.
Marshfield.
Nope.
Wausau West is playing. Wisconsin Rapids.
Nope. They haven't won a game.
And Eau Claire Memorial. No,
they haven't either. They only beat Rapids.
And Eau Claire North has. They play Superior.
Yes.
So one of the teams. I think just for the Valley, and this is actually, again, a very competitive matchup. I think this is a game that you could go either way. So I just think it's for the WVC going into the playoffs. And again, odds are at least 1 or 2 of these teams are going to play somebody from the Big Rivers in the playoffs, right?
For sure.
So, again, it's very interesting. And what about Wausau West? It's been a little bit of a roller coaster for Wausau West this season. There's been ups, there's been downs. Obviously, you see these guys every single day. I see them every week. What's your take on where Wausau West is right now?
Well, I think last week was, like we talked about earlier, was a good win for them. I think it got their offense right against a team that was good to get your offense right against, right? A Eau Claire Memorial team who struggles defensively. And I would say earlier in the year, it felt like the offense was the strength of this team, and the defense was kind of finding their way. They're running into new defense this year. I would say the second half of the season, the opposite may have been true. Like their defense is playing a little more consistently down the stretch here, and their offense has kind of had its ups and downs. Obviously, injuries have played a huge role in that, but I think that's what they're going to need to win Friday night and to have some success moving forward, is for that offense to continue to move the sticks, to not make mistakes, whether it's turning the ball over or penalties. That's probably the difference. If you go back to the Marshfield game, I mean, that was really the difference in that game, right? To only score 8 points, and their defense held a Marshfield team who's been scoring a lot of points to 14. And that was kind of I think the turning point when you look at not the season, but the second half of the season. That game was kind of the turning point that kind of set them back a little bit and made them start questioning their identity and what they were going to do. So last week was a get-right game, and this will be a really good test. I mean, I think you can consider River Falls a playoff team. Obviously, if they don't win, they won't be in the playoffs. But I think when you look at their program and how battle-tested they are, that this is a good test for the Warriors to see where they're at.
And the final game, no playoff implications. Eau Claire North at Wisconsin Rapids, but obviously for Wisconsin Rapids, they feel like this is probably a game they can get. Eau Claire North, I was a little surprised they didn't give Marshfield a bit of a better go of it last week. But for Rapids, one more chance to try to get that win, and that is important for all those young men and the coaches as well.
Yeah, you are now looking at built for a team like that and the situation they've had this year. This is what you're going into the offseason with. This is the taste you're going to have in your mouth, and this is in a week you're going to be talking about winter sports and getting the non-winter sport kids into the weight room. This is their motivation game.
Great Northern Conference, and they got a massive game in the GNC. The schedule makers it landed right. Medford at Mosinee. Medford 7-1, 6-0 in the conference. Mosinee 6-2, 5-1 in the conference. Medford claims the conference title with a win. Mosinee shares the league title with Medford with a win. Mosinee will face one of the top running backs not only in the area but in the state of Wisconsin in the Raiders, Paxton Rothmeyer. Mosinee, of course, has Treve Stoffel, who throws it well, he runs it well, he defends it well, and Mosinee's offense has started to pick it up a little bit. Their defense as well has really done a nice job recently, but this is going to be a huge challenge. And I would guess for Mosinee, let's look at this game. You want to score first.
Yes. Yeah, you want to score first. I mean, the other silver lining for Mosinee is it's at Mosinee, so I'm sure they'll have a great crowd. There is very, very little love lost between these two communities. It's one heck of a rivalry in many sports in the Great Northern Conference, so it should be a great atmosphere for a Friday night game. Medford wants to close this thing out. They want an undefeated conference season. They want to go into the playoffs as an undefeated conference championship. That helps you in the seeding process. So it should be a good game. Mosinee's definitely been playing better football. You assume they're getting more and more healthy each week, so it should be a great game.
Does playing on grass help Mosinee as well? Because Medford plays on turf at home.
Yeah, I think it absolutely does. I mean, it's their atmosphere in general, but I think in this day and age, it's a big difference because there aren't very many of the grass fields left.
Wausau East goes to a place that does have grass. Antigo, it's a very traditional Schofield Stadium. East 5-3, 4-2. They have clinched their playoff berth. And Antigo 4-4, 2-4. They need a win to have a chance at the postseason. For Wausau East, again, I think they're going to have to ride Davis Winter and Jesse Napgezik without Ian Stahl being in the lineup. So I think that it makes for a more of maybe a passing tilt for the Lumberjacks. They had three big plays, about 115 yards on three connections last week in that win up in Lakeland. And quarterback Colton Tomei, when the Robins have scored, he has been the key. And obviously, I think if they slow down Colton Tomei, then East has a good chance. And as we talked about, I mean, for East to get that sixth win will be significant. And obviously, in Antigo, playing for a postseason berth, it's an interesting game.
Yeah, it is. I certainly, if I'm East, don't take anything for granted going over there. We talk about tradition. You talk about playing the field. You said there's a ton of tradition on the field right now. It sounds like they're struggling in their facilities, like they're having some bleacher issues and stuff over there. Yeah. But I think the one advantage East definitely has in this, and I think it's a big story or a big reason for their overall success in the conference this year, is their ability to throw the football, is the ability to have those big plays. In these conferences with some of the smaller schools, with some of the schools that rely so heavily on running the football, and you see a lot of scores that are lower, like in those the teens to the 20s, the single digits to the low teens. I think the ability to throw the ball, the ability to have big plays and big playmakers, and I would say you could say that about Wausau East with Napgezik and Winter and Stahl. I know Stahl's not playing. But I think that is probably going to be the difference in this game, because not only can they do it, these teams aren't used to having to defend it from week to week in their secondary, and that's a big ask to defend athletes like Jesse Napgezik in the secondary if you're not used to it week in and week out.
Merrill at Rhinelander. Boy, feel for the Merrill Blue Jays. They've been this close. I got my fingers tight together to getting that third conference win the last 2 weeks. They had a second field goal that went through for East 2 weeks ago. 17-11 game last week at home against Tomahawk. So back-to-back narrow losses puts Merrill in a must-win situation for their playoff hopes. They're 4-4 overall, 2-4 in the conference. Rhinelander 3-5, 1-5. So they are not playing for a playoff berth. But when you look at the scores, 16-14 2 weeks ago, 17-11 shows Merrill's defense is obviously doing the job, but they just need to get a little bit more from the offensive side. And with the way that Rhinelander has struggled offensively this season, this has the look of maybe another 16-14 game for Merrill.
Yeah, and Merrill had started off so promising, right? Like to start the year, they had taken such a huge step from where they ended last year to how they started this year. Things were really going smooth and well for them, and I think it would be a huge step for them to get this win and find a way into the playoffs. Then they're on their progression for continuing to take that program forward and taking it to the next level. Rhinelander, on the other hand, feels really good walking off the field Friday night with a big victory. Obviously, they're not in the playoffs, but this would be a great win for their season.
They're 1-5 in the conference, and their win was a 3-touchdown win against East.
Yeah.
I mean, East is 4-2 in the conference, and they're Rhinelander's only win. So obviously, again, there's a narrow line between a lot of these teams in this conference.
Right, and 9 weeks is a really long time. There's ups and downs, and at the end of it, it becomes a number, right? 6-3, 5-4, whatever. But what a difference it's going to be for Merrill at the end of the game Friday night when you look back on this season. Are they a 5-win team who made their way into the playoffs, or are they a 4-win team who kind of petered out down the stretch?
And then every game in the GNC this week has some playoff implications, and basically a winner-take-all matchup between Lakeland and Tomahawk. Lakeland at Tomahawk. Lakeland 4-4, 2-4 in the conference. Tomahawk, after that huge road win at Merrill last week, 2-4 in the conference, 3-5 overall. Braden Larson's been a solid runner for the Tomahawk Hatchets. Been some rumbles that Lakeland's been banged up just a little bit late in the season. But, boy, what a great opportunity for both these squads, but especially for Tomahawk. You're back in the conference, a chance perhaps with back-to-back wins to get into the postseason playoffs.
Yeah, I think it's exciting for them. It's at Tomahawk. I'm sure it'll be a great crowd, great atmosphere. Lakeland's looking to get back in the playoffs, and I mean, what a huge win it would be for Tomahawk to be the little man in the big conference and make their way in.
We're going to take a quick timeout and then come back and continue our previews of week number 9. Still have the CWCs, large and small, plus 8-player football as well, as we look at some of the games that have playoff and conference championship implications here in the final week of the regular season. It is the Big High School Sports Show, brought to you by K5 Construction, a family-owned and operated custom builder in central Wisconsin that stands out from the rest for its commitment to quality and excellence. From design and planning to final construction, K5 Construction delivers superior results on every project. So more to come here on the Big High School Sports Show on 98.9 WXCO. On Friday night, the Marathon High School football team puts the wraps on the 2024 season, traveling to Spencer to take on the Rockets of Spencer Columbus. Hear the game live on the Sports 2 stream of BullFallsRadio.com and the Civic Media app, starting with the pregame show at 6:40 and kickoff at 7 p.m. The game can also be heard on tape delay following the Wausau West game on 98.9 WXCO. Marathon Football on WXCO is brought to you by Marathon Park City, Four Seasons Screen Printing, Brickners of Little Chicago, County Materials, the People's State Bank, Marathon Cheese, the Dirks Group, Marathon Family Dentistry, the Marathon Athletic Club, Fisher Transportation, Morgan Sand and Gravel, Rip Balls Fabrication, and BS Taxidermy. It's Marathon at Spencer Columbus and high school football. Friday night, starting with the pregame show at 6:40 and the opening kickoff at 7 p.m. on the Sports 2 stream of the Civic Media app and at BullFallsRadio.com. It's the Big High School Sports Show presented by K5 Construction here on 98.9 WXCO, BullFallsRadio.com, mobile devices, and Alexa by searching WXCO. And again, don't forget that if you miss any of the show and you would like to listen, it is going to be up as a podcast almost immediately after the show ends. You can go to BullFallsRadio.com and then click on sports or shows. Go to civicmedia.us, click on shows as well. You can find the logo and then the show and previous episodes of the show as well. And also you can subscribe as a podcast through Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. So again, subscribe to the Big High School Sports Show. Make sure to miss nothing as a podcast after the show is completed. Continuing to look ahead to week number 9 of the regular season, CWC Large, Stratford Tigers looking to finish off a perfect regular season, 8-0, 6-0 in the conference. They travel to Loyal Greenwood. Loyal Greenwood 1-7, 0-6. Stratford earned at least a share of the conference championship last week with their win over previously unbeaten Amherst. Jack Tubbs continues to perform at an unbelievably high level. He was 14 of 16, 216 yards, 3 touchdowns last week. And you would think he would be able to add to his offensive totals against a Loyal Greenwood team that gave up 60 points a week ago.
Yeah, I would think so. I think he will finish the season strong. We'll see how much he has to or they choose for him to play in this game. But I think it's when we talked earlier with Coach Mitchell about tradition and DC Everett and stuff like that, and obviously Stratford has won a lot of state championships, but the current run they're on where they're coming off back to back, they have a recipe right now. They know week to week what it looks like. They know what to do in weeks like this. And when you're in week 9, and it's going to be the little difference in their formula is that they're a D5 playoff team this year. So that'll be a little different look with some different opponents for them. But ultimately they know what they're kind of like Coach Sins at Edgar, right? This is what we do in week 9, regardless of who our opponent is. This is what week 10 looks like, and so on and so forth. So I think that is where Stratford is as a program, and they take care of business this week and then start a new adventure in Division 5.
Will they be a number 1 seed this year, though?
Oh, God. I mean, wouldn't you really want to say yes, absolutely, but we know we can't do that.
Wittenberg-Burnwood at Amherst, a massive matchup. Whitburn 6-2, 5-1 in the conference. Amherst 7-1, 5-1 in the conference. It's become quite a rivalry. They played each other quite a bit last season. They faced off in the postseason playoffs, game that went right down to the wire in Wittenberg, where the Chargers won. Second place is on the line. Potential playoff seeding as well, of course, on the line. Whitburn, it seems as though they've been improving throughout the season. Bryson Schmidt, Jet Rogowski. You had Amherst, who fell last week at Stratford, but I think, again, the way that they went toe-to-toe for quite a bit of that football game was actually, again, nobody there is going to say, moral victories or anything like that, but after they've struggled a little bit against some of these other teams a little bit further down in the conference to show that they did have that ability to raise up a little bit, they're going to have to do that again this week against Whitburn.
Yeah, I think I was a little surprised at their effort against Stratford. I mean, obviously
3 quarters.
Right. I think a few years ago that they go into that game expecting to win it, and that had been such an epic battle. And I think this year they've been down a little bit. And I would say that prior to last week, you kind of would have pretty openly given Whitburn the nod in this one going forward. But I think Whitburn's still playing good football. Each week has shown some improvement. And I think Amherst has shown that this is going to be a great game, kind of like a little bit like the Medford and Mosinee game, right? I think this is a great week 9 game from 2 really good conference opponents to say, next year, Stratford.
And who knows? Maybe it's the first of 2 again. You don't know that. I mean, you could, and this could determine where that game is played the second time around as well. You just don't know.
So it should be a great one.
Also, the CWC Large Marathon is at Spencer Columbus. No playoff implications in this one. Both teams are 2-6, 1-5 in the conference. It's a game that will be heard live on the Sports 2 stream of the Civic Media app and at bullfallsradio.com. Both teams looking to finish off with a positive. Obviously, Marathon has gone through an injury-plagued season, but having Truthers back, I think that they would like to show that, hey, if we were full strength, we've been a little bit better, perhaps even a playoff team. But again, for both teams, you hate to go into this one not having that chance to get to 3 conference wins.
Right. And Spencer Columbus has been competing like crazy down the stretch against some of the better teams in this conference. So obviously they're looking for the opportunity to end the season on a high note. And like you said, Truthers being back, maybe good things happen for Marathon.
Also, finally, in the CWC Large, Colby, 3-5, 3-3 in the conference. Wyowega Fremont, 4-4, 3-3 in the conference. It's kind of odd. They're both 3-3 in the conference, but it feels like Wyowega's had a much better year than Colby has.
It does, and it seems like in various weeks, minus the Stratford week, it seems like both of these teams seemed like they were headed in the right direction. But consistency-wise, Wyowega Fremont does seem to have had a better season, but Colby probably carries a little more positive tradition into this game and knowing how to win games at this time of the year.
CWC Small / Merriwood, and we've talked about this during the course of the season. There have been weeks where the top 4 and the bottom 4 get together, and here to wrap it up, it's one of those good weeks because you got the top 4 teams facing off against each other, and then the bottom 4 as well for some interesting games. You got Edgar at Abbotsford. You got Edgar 7-1 overall, 6-0 in the conference. Abby 7-1 overall, 5-1 in the conference. Edgar looks to finish up a perfect conference season and also a dominant conference season. Abbotsford will try to pull into a share of the conference title with a win. Both teams obviously like to run the football. Abby will need a huge night from their running backs. Again, as you kind of mentioned earlier, wondering where maybe Christian Fuentes is, whether or not he's 100%. Have not seen his name like we normally would. Obviously, that would be a big factor in that football game. And Edgar has multiple big play runners, Will Hackle, Maverick Butt. And, of course, Abbotsford is going to have to make sure they don't give up points on returns, whether it's a punt return, a kickoff return, an interception return. Edgar does that so very often. It is hard to overcome against a good team like Edgar if you're giving them extra points in what you call unusual circumstance.
Yeah, Edgar is so strong in all 3 phases and so well coached. And this is, if you're Abbotsford, you don't have that tradition. So this is what you're trying to build towards. And who better to go up against to learn about it than Edgar? They probably have some ideas of who they'd rather play this week. But I do think it's a good matchup. It's a good measuring stick for them to see where they are in week 9 and going forward into the playoffs. If they can find a way to compete, whether it's close after the first quarter, close at halftime, close into the second half, all of those things will help them as they try to build some confidence moving into the playoffs.
And also the loss against Auburndale a couple of weeks back at home, where they were undefeated, and they saw Auburndale win by 3 touchdowns. I think for Abbotsford, against a high-level team going into the playoffs, they need, to, as you said, to make sure that they stay within shouting distance, to have that little bit of, hey, we can play at this level when they may have to play at this level very, very soon.
Correct.
Another game, again, battle of teams in the top 4 of the conference. Iola Scandinavia at Auburndale. Iola 6-2, 4-2 in the conference. Auburndale 7-1. 5-1 in the conference. Should Abbotsford beat Edgar, and then Auburndale would have a chance to make it a 3-way tie for the conference championship, but it won't be easy. Again, Iola's been a very solid team during the course of the season. Auburndale, though, has been dominant during a 5-game win streak since suffering their only loss to Edgar in week number 3. And IS has been tough in every game. I mean, they played really, I thought, a tough football game when they went to Edgar. They gave Edgar their best conference game this season, and they had a very tight one-score game. I think it was 14-7 at Abbotsford earlier. And both teams have shown the ability to put up big points. Jensen Rice has been outstanding, multi-threat QB for the T-Birds, and the Eagles have been able to move the ball through the air a bit with Blake Robb and then also run it with Colton Weiler. So, again, it's a very intriguing matchup.
Yeah, another really good Week 9 conference game, big playoff implications. It's been one thing I've observed over the years that we've been doing the computer seeding is it definitely shows some love to teams who have historical playoff success. So I think this is a really big game for Auburndale to kind of stay at that one loss. I think they will be rewarded in seeding if they do, and I think it would be a huge win for Iola Scandinavia to have that win as they head into seeding as well. So this should be a good game.
Pacelli and Pittsville, they're both 2-4 in the conference. So obviously the winner gets the 3 wins. I don't know whether it's going to be enough or not. I think that we've seen traditionally that maybe CWC Small does not get that kind of love.
Right.
We saw, I think it was Pacelli or one of the teams had a 3-win conference and did not make it either last year or the year before. But now with Edgar in the conference and much better top 4, this could be for a berth in the playoffs.
Yeah, again, another good Week 9 matchup that has meaning, right? Both teams come into it thinking, you're telling me there's a chance.
That's it. That's all you want in week number 9, right? And then Rochelle and Assumption in the grab the bus to the 8-man football game of the week. Rochelle going to 8-man next year. Assumption going to 8-player in 2026. And in 8-player, Newman Catholic 6-1. They're at 3-5 Wild Rose. It's a game that will air live on the Sports 3 stream of the Civic Media app and at bullfallsradio.com. Been quite a ride for the Cards this season. They're closing in on another trip to the playoffs. Newman has never missed the 8-player postseason since the WIAA started sponsoring 8-player football in 2018. But cannot afford to stub toe, because there's a lot of really good teams in 8-player, and as we mentioned earlier, just 16 teams make the 8-player playoffs compared to 32 in all 7 divisions in 11-player.
Yeah, and it's a road game, and it's week 9, and what do these teams? I mean, knowing it's so much tougher to get in the playoffs, they're guarantees, right? Wild Rose knows, regardless of what happens in this game, they're not making the playoffs. But what a great way it would be for them to end the season by knocking off or taking away Newman Catholic's playoff hopes. So yeah, a lot on the line there. Newman's had a tough road this year. They've showed a ton of character, and it'd be great for them to be able to finish out that regular season schedule with a win and give themselves a really good shot for making the playoffs.
And some other 8-player games this week. You got Marion Tigerton at Elman Bancroft, Port Edwards at Tri-County, Gilman and Owen Withee 6-1 against 7-0. Could be a playoff preview as well. Rib Lake 5-2 taking on Hurley, who is also, I think, 6-1. And Prentice and Athens, both teams looking for their first win of the season. I think Athens will find a way. They've been knocking on the door, and I think Athens will find a way this week. We got about 2 minutes to go, and beyond the games, obviously Saturday is the seedings. There was some controversy in recent years. Do you expect controversy this week?
It depends how we define controversy.
Well,
There'll definitely be some people who have questions and be upset, and there will definitely be people who dislike the computerized system even more so and don't understand how.
Have there been adjustments made?
I think there's been adjustments made to the formula. It's my understanding that head-to-head now carries a little bit more weight than it has in the past, and from what I understand, that's one of the biggest complaints that they've had is teams who lose to somebody during the regular season, have a very similar record, but then get seated below that team, has been one of the major complaints. I do think that it's going to be there. It's not a perfect system.
Right.
Personally, I like it because I really disliked seating meetings because it was that opportunity for head coaches who.
The national news cycle never stops, but it can be hard to find news about your local community. Civic Media is dedicated to providing quality local and state news coverage across Wisconsin. With the Civic Media app, you can get notifications about local stories that matter to you and your community. Find the free Civic Media app in your phone's app store and choose notifications from the menu to tell us what kind of news you want to hear about.